and I are going to demonstrate how to add a verbal cue to a trick that you have already trained your dog to do using a food lure, fading that to a hand signal, and then adding the verbal cue. So the first demo we're going to do is with a behavior that she already has on a verbal cue, just so you can see the flow of how I teach this. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a verbal cue to a behavior that she has on a hand signal, but I haven't yet added the verbal cue. So you can see the kind of the finished behavior once the cue has been learned, and then a beginning behavior. So we're going to work with middle. I'm just going to quickly run through the steps that I would do if we're starting this right from the beginning. So I've got a piece of food. I'm going to lure her around my legs into middle. It's going to look like this. Okay, paper. First of all, I'm just getting her on her feet. Okay, I've got food in my hand. Food lure around the legs, pick her up, bring her through, and feed. Freedom. So once she has the food lure and is readily following your hands, then I'm going to fade the food from my, in this case, my left hand. So it'll look like this. Around, pick her up, and feed. Freedom. As my dog gets better at the behavior, I'll have no food in my hands, but I'm using the same motion. She comes around, yes, she's in the middle, and I'm feeding the behavior. Yeah. Freedom. Now, once your dog is, once you've got the hand signal, then you can start to make the hand signal more subtle. So it'll be a little bit like this, and she comes in the middle. And at this stage, I'm going to add a verbal cue. Freedom. So what you're going to do is you're going to say your new cue, pause, and then your old cue. The reason for the pause, is so that your dog has a chance to think about what you just said, process what it means, and then you follow up with the hand signal so they say, I get it. That sound predicts the hand signal, which is this behavior that I already know. And then over time, because dogs are creatures of efficiency, she will learn that when I hear that word, go into middle, done. So it's going to, now she already knows this behavior, but it'll look like this. Middle. There we go. Oh, so that's what it looks like with the cue. Freedom. So this is what it looks like if I was incorporating the hand signal. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the new cue, which is middle, the verbal cue, pause, and then add in the hand signal. Middle. Now it's a little hard to demonstrate because, as you can see, she knows the behavior really well. Freedom. Okay, so those are the steps to adding a verbal cue to a behavior your dog already knows and is acting on a hand signal. Now, what does it look like if it's brand new and you're just starting to teach this to your dog? Now, Piper, we've been working on spin and turn. She will do spin, which is her right, which is clockwise. She will do turn on a hand signal, but I haven't yet added the verbal cue. So this is going to be my first time adding the verbal cue. Let's see how this works. I'm going to warm her up with a hand signal, then I'm going to do new cue, pause, old cue. So get her on her feet, and I've got food in my hand just to get the behavior going. Then I'm going to fade the food from the hand that's luring. There you go. Good girl. All right. Turn. So in this case, she thinks that the sound means go to her right. So I'm going to have a much shorter pause initially, just so I can get her going in the direction that I want her to go. So it will look like this. Turn. There we go. Turn. So I don't want to keep practicing behavior, that second behavior, because it's going to muddy my verbal cue. So I'm going to go back to a hand signal with food in my hand. Girl. Oh, get it. Turn. There we go. So in this case, I'm actually not going to have much of a pause between my new cue and my old cue, at least initially. Turn. Good girl. And then I'll give her a break so she doesn't get too dizzy. Turn. Yes. turn. Good girl. Kitty. And now I'll see if we can get a bit more of a pause. Turn. Yes, there we go. And I will stop it there. So that is the essence of how you will add a verbal cue to a behavior that your dog knows and, in this case, has on a hand signal. Good girl. And the beauty of having both a food lure, a hand signal, and a verbal cue is if the behavior breaks down at any point, you can go back a layer. So she didn't respond to the verbal cue. I will now do a hand signal to just kind of warm her up. And if I had to, I could go back to putting food in my hand and luring it. So all done. Good job, Mama.